The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're coming to you live on this Thursday morning. And we're live in a lot of different locations today. Very excited to be here with you. You're going to love my guests. I've already gotten weepy looking at some of the stuff they sent me. So stop. It's already going to be there. Thrilled that you guys are here with us this morning. We are going to be with you live for the next hour and we hope that it's interactive because we get the most fun when we are having a conversation with you in the many different ways that we can have a conversation. Want to remind you that if you're watching us live on this Thursday morning, August 6th, can you believe that it's already August? I can't believe that. If you're watching us live this morning, you're watching us either on YouTube or on Facebook or on Periscope or Twitter or on our homepage, autism-live.com. Now, most of the places that I just listed off have a way for you to write into us. I got to be honest that right now, the two best ways, because of technical issues and and gremlins, the two best ways to get a hold of us live are to be talking with us on YouTube or on Facebook Live. Those are the two easiest ways to get a hold of us right now. Or you could email me at s.penrod@autism-live.com. Although I will tell you, it's very rare that I check my email while we're in the show, especially because now we don't take breaks. We used to take little commercially breaks. We really aren't doing a lot of that. So I would say Facebook and YouTube are your best shot right now of talking to me during the show. When the show is not live, it's much better if you email and send that over to me. Live feature on our website is a little hit and miss right now at the moment. So I'm not counting on it and I want to encourage you not to count on it right now. But we love to hear from you in all the different ways that we hear from you. I got to tell you, it's like our biggest thrill to talk with you guys. So please feel free to write into us and let us know your thoughts, your feelings, your questions, your concerns. Hey, we're here. Our mission is to provide information and inspiration. And that's really personal to me because I am a mom of an individual who was diagnosed with autism at a very early age. And he's 17 now and he's, my light, my love. But I know sometimes that no matter where you are in this journey with autism, and by the way, we include everyone in our community. So it starts with individuals who are themselves diagnosed and on the spectrum, right? They are the beating core of this community, but we include all the people that love them. So it's like here and here, right? The people who are orbiting them. We're a part of this community that we're talking to as well. We want to help everybody. We know that it's not one size fits all, that everybody has their own starting point and their own journey. And we always want to pay homage to that. The spectrum of individuals in the autism community is that, a spectrum. And everybody's on their own journey. They need their own things and we can't ever carte blanche anything. But the thing that we all agree on is that individuals on the spectrum deserve respect, dignity, autonomy, the ability to be in control of whatever they are capable of being in control of, and that they need resources and support to be able to be independent in as many things as they possibly can. They need jobs, they need employment, they need people to love them as they are and to help them. Listen, all of us are working on things. Whether you're on the spectrum or not, all of us are working on things. So the fact that you might need support with something does not mean that you get any less dignity, any less opportunity, right? I think we can all rally around that point. And then the rest of it, we can, take what fits and discard what doesn't. That's what I encourage you to do. So that's what we're doing here. We love to hear from you. Because I am a grateful mom of a wonderful individual who did get diagnosed at an early age and had some challenges. It's so important to me, the deal that I made on my bedroom floor in the middle of the night when I was praying and saying, please, please God, help me to help my kiddo. Don't let me be the mom who drops this ball. Don't let that be my story, right? And I sat right there and I said, help me to help my child. And I promise if you help me, I will help whoever I can. So that's why I'm here. Don't confuse me for an expert, right? Confuse me for somebody who loves you and wants what's best for you. Yes, absolutely confuse me for that person. And confuse me for somebody who has great connections, having hosted shows about autism for more than a decade now. I've met some people. I have some phone numbers. I have a few emails. I know how to ask questions from people who have answers. So use me as a resource, utilize me. I love, I love me some Oprah. If you watch the show, I love me some Oprah. And Oprah says she gets up every morning and she sings that song, use me up. And I love that. Utilize me, use me to get what you need, the answers that you need. I love that. That makes me very happy. I want to just stop and say hi to Laurie and say good morning to Jacinda. We got a lot to cover today. I see that somebody's already written in a question. My 4-year-old nonverbal grandson with autism is starting to display aggressive and violent meltdowns. My daughter and I are both have to hold him down. Our arms are always scratched and bruised, trying to keep him from hurting himself. Should we get him reevaluated to see if it's more than autism? Again, not an expert, but I'm going to say to you, I'm going to ask you, you're a grandparent. So I assume that you're over the age of 27. Right. And so, you're an adult and you probably have a driver's license and you've probably held a job in your life and people look at you and think of you as an adult, right? If aliens came and captured you today and took you to another planet and they, their configuration of where their eyes were was different than what it is for us, and they spoke a different language and they didn't understand if you signed to them or if you spoke to them, they didn't understand. I just want to ask you, how long before you would throw a tantrum? How long before you would start throwing things because you needed something to eat, drink, you were hot, you were cold, you had to go to the bathroom, or you just wanted to know what the heck's going on? Where am I? Why am I here? I figure that I would have about between 11 and 14 minutes before I would lose and I would start biting people and scratching them and kick. And I'm a reasonable person with a driver's license, right? And people look at me like I'm an adult, but I figure 11 to 14 minutes before I would snake out. Because if you can't get your needs met, what do you have at your disposal? And, I don't know whether your grandson has an additional diagnosis to autism, but what you've told me is that he's nonverbal and he's 4. And if he doesn't have functional communication, if he doesn't quickly get away so that he can say to you, enough, I'm done playing with this toy, or I need to go to the bathroom, or that noise is making me crazy, or I'm tired, or I'm cold. If he doesn't have a way to say those things, he will aggress. My arms used to be covered with bruises from my kiddo biting me. And my kiddo's getting ready to apply to Harvard. So I want to fill you with hope. I want to fill your bucket with hope and say, this does not have to be the way he communicates, but we've got to get him functional communication. And at 4, we probably want to jump right to functional communication, pairing it with speech to see if we can get to speech, but we need to get to functional communication like right now. Now, that looks a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. Some people functionally communicate with sign language, and I love sign language, but the problem with sign language is not everybody knows it. And so we need to make sure that he's got a way that everybody can understand him. So you probably want to be looking at getting an iPad, and there's the app that everybody uses, and it's expensive, is Proloquo to go. Easy, right? There are ones that are really good that are free or like an 18th of the cost of Proloquo, but probably at some point somebody's going to tell you to get Proloquo. So, but I just want to say to you that like right now, the thing you can do to help is it your daughter or your daughter-in-law? And the thing that you can do to help your grandson, we have to give him functional communication. If an iPad is off the table and you know, it's going to take you months to get funding for it from insurance or a grant or whatever, I want you to look up Picture Exchange Communication. It's PECS, Picture Exchange Communication. You could start that today, but he's got to have a way to say yes, no, more, hot, cold, hurt, right? We've got it, and you will see there's something called the magic X. When we're doing a graph and we're showing how much a child is aggressing, right? And that's, you know, it's way up here, right? And how much a child is being able to express their needs, and that's way down here. When we start to make this number go up so that they're starting to express themselves, this number goes like this, and you will see a magic X on his graphs because they're directly related. If I can't get my needs met, I'm going to bite you. And I think if we just, because we get scared, right? I was scared. Is my child a monster? Is he going to be a person who aggresses at people his whole life? No. If he had a way of communicating, then he didn't need to aggress. And you know, even people who aren't on the spectrum, for a lot of people, if we gave them an appropriate way to communicate, they wouldn't need to aggress. But we know for sure for a 4-year-old on the autism spectrum, they will aggress if they cannot get their needs met. Let's give them functional communication. It's going to change your life. We don't normally do that this early in the morning. Good morning, Bonnie. Hi, Nasser. Sapphire, good morning. And somebody under the name of Fat God, I have no idea what that means, but they said, is autism and Asperger the same thing? Well, they're under the same umbrella, autism spectrum disorder. They look very different, but under the new classification, they are under the same umbrella. There is no more, in the current diagnosis, there is no more Asperger's. There's Asperger type, autism Asperger type. So sending you a virtual hug, Jacinda. And hey, Jeremy, hello, good morning. All right, you guys, it's time. We like to start the morning with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym. We try to figure out what in the hey nani are those experts talking about? Why do they use these terms? Why are they trying to like turn our brains into applesauce? What we do here is that we take the acronym, the phrase, whatever it is, the term, we give you the actual definition whenever possible. I make fun of that because really that's all it's good for. And then we try to give you a working definition and an example so that we can all start to understand these terms in the hopes that it saves us time and energy and money. That's what we're all about. Hey, Christina. So awesome here. I love that people are doing the elbow cloth. Okay, so today's jargon term, couldn't wait to get to this one. Gross motor skills. Earlier this week, we did fine motor skills, and we see that those two kind of go in hand. People talk about them, you know, they'll say, oh, the fine motor skills and the gross motor skills. And I remember hearing that, and I was like, are gross, like, I thought gross as in disgusting. And I was like, are we talking about bowel movements here? What are we talking about here? It's not that. Gross also means large. And so let's take a look at what our actual definition for gross motor skills are. I assume it's not that bad of a definition. Gross motor skills, the abilities required in order to control the large muscles of the body for intentionally coordinated movement. It's not that bad. There's not much to make fun of. But I still don't know what it is. And if I have a 4-year-old who's on the spectrum, I'm like, what does this have to do with me? Why would this be important? Why do I need to know this? And I do need to know this. So let's move on to our working definition and see if we can't make some heads or tails out of this. Dun, da, da, da. It's the larger movements in an individual which make their arms, legs, feet, or their entire body move, crawling, running, and jumping. Okay, so we all have these amazing machines that we're living in, our bodies. We're little ecosystems, and we each have our own ecosystem. And there's a certain amount of stuff we got to put in and a certain amount of stuff that we have to put out. And if it gets out of balance, we get out of whack. And for people who have sensory issues, which is a lot of our kids and a lot of us and a lot of adults on the spectrum, not on the spectrum, right? If we don't get enough movement of our large muscles in our body, we get out of whack. And sometimes that manifests in anxiety, sensory overload, and an inability to regulate ourselves. Woo! Suddenly this got much more important, right? So I have a friend who did not have boys on the spectrum, but when I had my son, there were a lot of us that were in the same age range that had lots of boys just all at once, right? And her boys were a few years older than our boys, and they were just the most polite, regulated, kind gentlemen. And we would always say, Renee, what is it you're doing? How is it that your boys, like you say, come on, it's time to go, and you don't get all this, like, what's your secret, Renee? And Renee, who is an amazing midwife doula and an earth mother, right? She would say, oh, I just run them like they're dogs. I keep them very busy. They swim every day. I make sure that they're running. I keep them in constant motion because it regulates them. And I was like, Regamada? What is that? And that was right before my son was diagnosed with autism. Over the years, as we've had OTs on the show, and they talk about how important it is for our kids to do heavy work. And that sounds like putting them on a chain gang, right? But it's not. It's like moving, like, one of the things when people say to me, I don't know what to do, we're housebound in this pandemic, I don't know what to do. And one of the things I say is rearrange the furniture and have your kids push the couch and push the ottoman and move the chair and pull this over here and put stuff in the laundry basket and have them pull it through the house. Put one of the kids in the laundry basket and have them push them across the house. And you will see that there is an impact of that heavy work, that your kids have this sort of glow effect afterwards. They're kind of breathing hard, but they've moved the muscles and they've used them in a way that feels, it releases things in their bodies. I don't know the whole physiology of it, but it helps them to regulate. You might find that they're more focused for a period of time afterwards, and that things that otherwise would bug them sensory wise, they can regulate a little bit better. So gross motor, super duper important now, right? Now suddenly you're like, oh, where do I learn more about this? So there's tons of information about gross motor activities for our kiddos. I love going to Pinterest for these kinds of things. And on Pinterest, you can go to autism-live, you can follow our boards. And I put a whole board at the beginning of the pandemic that's just gross motor stuff. And then I put some gross motor stuff in other categories. Check out the boards that I've got there, but check out the gross motor. When I'm talking to you guys about making an obstacle course in your living room, gross motor, and it's fun and our kids learn, and we want our kids. Sometimes it's interesting that we had the question about Asperger's. One of the hallmarks of Asperger's is that those kiddos maybe speak a little bit faster, but have a hard time with the back and forth, right? But speech comes generally, not always, but generally earlier, and they're a little bit more uncoordinated. They have a hard time coordinating, their brain to their body. They need the gross motor. For those of you who have kids that you've written in and you said, my kid climbs me or is pulling on me or sticking his chin on me, gross motor is a really good thing. Now I sound like Martha. Okay, so I love me some gross motor, and good OT can do this with you. Good therapists will do some gross motor stuff with your kids to get their yayas out so that they can focus. So what is ritualistic behavior and ritualistic, is that Asperger's? So there's a part of the diagnosis of autism that has to do with ritualistic behavior, and that means doing things in a pattern. So, you know, they have to turn around 3 times before they sit down to work. Or, you know, a lot of people, kiddos will line cars up, or, you know, we have to check the doorknob 5 times, or you know, we can't wear the red underwear with the blue pants, right? That it's like regimented behaviors that no, if you hear somebody say, no, it has to be this way, I'm like that. No, I can't do this first. The steps are this. It has to be done in this order. Then it becomes ritualistic, because it's a ritual that you have to do to feel okay. Um, you know, I have this, so I tend to think that everybody has this, but my husband doesn't have that. My son had it when he was little. I think I'm the only person left in the house that has this. But it absolutely is one of the things on the list of diagnosis for autism. It is not the only thing. And you can have autism without having that, and you can have this and not qualify for an autism diagnosis. So it's just one of a list of things that if you have, makes you more eligible if you have other things on the list. And I don't think that, I think that a lot of people with Asperger's have this, but not all. And a lot of people who have an autism diagnosis have this, but not all. And I don't know, like, you know, what the statistics are about how many to how many, but, you know, it is something that can be worked on, and that can be better. It's hard. It's not the easiest behavior to take care of, but it can be worked on. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. We have a question for you. I gotta get, because I got guests waiting. So our question of the day, after our definitions here, I don't know what it is, Traven, so you got to show it on the screen, and my computer screen is showing me 85 million things right now. Okay, so this is a great question. I'm glad that it goes. What gross motor activities do you enjoy? Like, there are some gross motor activities that you don't enjoy, but what do you enjoy? And I bring that up because it's important to know that what you like isn't necessarily what the other people in your life like, isn't necessarily what your kiddo likes. So it's important when you're doing gross motor activities, we want for them to be rewarding, and we want them to happen on a regular basis. If not every day, certainly many times during the week. But I think for kiddos on the spectrum, it's a good thing to shoot for this every day to get to that self-regulation piece. So what do you enjoy? What do they enjoy? It's not equal and even. I'm not a treadmill person, but I'm treadmilling right now, and I'm starting to enjoy it only because I'm pairing it with other things, because I need to be doing it every day. Okay, I got a couple more questions here, and then we're going to get to our guests. Our topic, what's our topic this week, Traven, so I can get to these? Hello, Parker. Glad to have you back. Hi, Bonnie. Oh yeah, one size doesn't fit all. This is going to fit really well with what I'm about to say. So somebody asked, do you guys plan to put out the A-Word series back on YouTube? I love the series. I learned so much from it. You know, we hope so. We took it down at the request of Jack Riley's parents, because he's at an age where they want him to be able to sort out and then choose for himself if he's okay with it. So we're kind of like giving him some space and letting him see. But yes, it was wonderful. They loved it too. They loved being of service to the community, and we're hopeful, but you know, we want to do what's best for that young man. Hi, Yusarika. I hope I said your name right. Okay, one last question. Can mild autism be cured completely? And Jacinda said she loves to dance, and you're going to love our guests. I just want to say that in the autism community, I think the vast majority of us have come to respect that the term cure has no place. That I appreciate the question, but I want to be really clear that what our friends on the autism spectrum have told us is that when we talk about curing autism, and they identify so completely as being autistic, and for adults on the spectrum, many of them do identify that way. I am an autistic, I am autistic. The younger group of kids, like, you know, the generation of kids that I know refer to themselves as being on the spectrum. and think of themselves as, you know, autism is something that it's a difference in their brain, and they don't think of themselves as being autistic. And I do think it's a generational thing to a large extent. But in either case, the term cured like doesn't have a place. And I don't think anybody has figured out what the actual word is. But here's what I can tell you is that you can be diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder. And only when you only qualify for disorder if it is impacting your life and you cannot be living your life without support. And so they call it a disorder. We can argue about whether that's accurate, but that's the current determination, right? If you're asking me, do people ever get to the point where they don't have a disorder anymore and don't qualify for that diagnosis? All the time, all the time. Does it mean that their brain still works differently than mine? Yes, but it's not a disorder. I hope that we will get to the point where we can refer to autism spectrum I don't know. I don't like any of the words that are coming to mind, but that we can also look at the fact that autism brains, for me, it's like the difference of, do you use an Apple, a Mac, or do you use a PC? They're both great. They both process in different ways. But you're used to be that there were things that you could do on a PC that you couldn't do on a Mac. And then they invented apps. And now a Mac can do very similar in a different way, process in a totally different way as a PC, and vice versa. Now there are programs that you can add that make your PC more like a Mac. This is how I view autism. They process in different ways. Both are valid. Both are good. And if you want to be able to do something that the other one can do, you install an app and you can do it. And that's where I want to be. Open to other people. Let's see if anybody has strong feelings about that, because everybody gets to have their opinion. Okay, but we're late for our guests and they're fabulous. So Robin Yates Martinez is joining us from Everybody Dance Now and Fullerton Cares. And I don't know if her peer buddy guest is joining us at the same time, but that's Kaitlyn Lauryn Wilson. There's Robin Yates. There they are. I'm late, you guys. I apologize. I had questions and I couldn't let them go. But I am so thrilled to have both of you here. Let's start with talking about Robin Yates Martinez for a quick second. She is an amazing expert in the field of autism that I have so much respect for. I first met Robin because she came to be on the show because she was working with Fullerton Cares, doing this amazing work that she's still doing that we're going to be talking about in a second. But I was so taken with her. I was like, I just want to work more with this woman. She's just got a very unique view on this world. And shortly after that, she came and was, tell us what your title was at Skills, Robin, because I'm not going to remember that. But you held a very important position and role with Skills that I talk about all the time here on the show. Tell them what you did with Skills.
So I had an awesome job with Skills, and it was the most unique job in the world. I'll probably never have another job like it again, but I was the implementation specialist. And so I had the pleasure of working, including traveling. So I would do in-person training, but I did a lot of webinar training and consultation with therapists and parents on how to utilize the Skills curriculum and implement that in their homes, their clinics, how to take data. It was just fantastic. And during that time, I worked very closely with Evelyn.
Yes, we love Evelyn. Evelyn,
yes, and you love her here. So that was I learned a lot, and I'm still utilizing what I learned when I did that job today.
Well, but you helped so many people with Skills. I love me some Skills, and I talk about it here. I wax poetic about Skills, but a lot of people go to Skills and feel overwhelmed and go, I don't know how to get. It's like going to Disneyland, and there's so many things to do, and you can't do all of them at the same time. But what I loved was that Robin was this wonderful tour guide for people to say, what is it you need? What are, and to get them an entree so that then they could use as many of the things and Skills that they wanted to. You were a game changer at Skills, and we miss you. But Robin has gone on, to do many things and work with many individuals. She's a brilliant BCBA. And we just adore her. You know, she's a mover and a shaker. She's a get it done kind of person. And when I have always loved what you have done with Everybody Dance Now, but when you wrote to me the other day and said what you guys have been doing in the pandemic, I thought I was just going to plot. It was just, I was like, holy Christmas. We got to get her on here. So that's Robin, and Robin's going to talk to us about what Everybody Dance Now is and what their affiliation with Fullerton Care is. There's so much to talk about, but I can't let it go. We have to introduce this fabulous, beautiful young woman, Kaitlyn Lauryn Wilson. And Kaitlyn, it's my understanding that you are nothing short of a genius. From what I hear, you are an amazing dancer, but you are a brilliant human being, and that you are a perfect example of what a peer buddy is. And we'll explain to people what that is in a minute. But I am so moved. How old are you?
15.
Yeah. Well, at 15, Kaitlyn has figured out more than many people I know. So I can't wait to talk with her and talk about this topic. So let's not belay it anymore. So Robin, first of all, tell us, what is Everybody Dance Now and what's the affiliation with Fullerton Cares?
Okay, so Everybody Dance Now was born over 7 years ago, and it's a passion of mine, is performing arts. So dance, music, comedy, and that's what I've always loved. And my children love that. And my youngest son was dancing at CF Dance Academy, started when he was just 3. And he really, really enjoyed it. And I had shared with the owner of the dance academy that I would love to have something for my oldest son, who was severely impacted by autism. And he did not have, once he aged out of Gymboree, he didn't have anything that was where he could sing songs and do that sort of thing, that was at his level, but also age appropriate. And I just really wanted something for him. And so she knew about my background also as a behavior specialist. And so we talked about the logistics of starting a dance program for kiddos that were on the spectrum or had other disabilities, and particularly being able to individualize it for kiddos that were in the mod severe range. And so she said, you know what, let's give it a go. And we were full from the first class, and we've had the program ever since. And so I was also the community outreach director, and still am, for Fullerton Cares at this time too. So I was within my role in that scope to go ahead and implement the program. And so I took basically a level 1 hip hop curriculum and modified it for a mod severe population, and then a wider age group. And what I'm here to talk about today is the most exciting part and component of our Everybody Dance Now program is, and another program that I ended up starting later that we'll talk about, is we have a inclusive component. And so a lot of it, not to discredit any other classes or anything, but there are classes that pop up, dance, taekwondo, things like that for kiddos with special needs. But then we don't see typically developing kiddos in there either. And so we remember that we're always wanting to promote inclusion. So our dance program took kids that were interested at CF Dance, dancers that were there that wanted to come in as peer buddies. So every one of our students was paired up with someone pretty close in age with them. And then I trained our peer buddies on how to provide basic behavior support. So what behaviors to kind of pretend to ignore, what we could do to support a decrease in behavior, certain prompting skills and prompt hierarchy even. So learning how we can maybe have to partial physical prompt at first the dance moves, but then back off. And then now we're doing gestural prompts. And so it was just really, really exciting, because soon I had these peer buddies that were very young at the time. Katie started, I guess, well, if you're 15 minus 6, You were pretty young when you started out, you know, and I was able to train them, and they were supporting, you know, behavior interventionist quality support, and everyone was just always really taken aback by that. And so fast forward, the program's been going on for 7 years. Katie's been with us for 6. And so we have now real friendships that were established 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they're staying together. So now I have a child who's severely impacted by autism, and he's got a long-term friend. I didn't think that was going to be a thing. And so, I mean, you know, like that was not, you know, I wanted a program for him, and I had high hopes, but that surpassed all my hopes. And so as we got further and further into this, a core group of buddies that had just always been there, which is Kaitlyn, and Emma, and Ryan, which is Katie's brother, and Gabriella, and she is the buddy I was talking about. That's my son Ian's actual friend. She comes to his birthday parties. She's there for him, and my other buddies I mentioned, they're the same way. They've got these long established relationships now with the kids that they've supported, and so that's just been beautiful for me, and I'm really, really thankful about it. And you know, I just really started thinking we could use this story to inspire other teenagers. And it's like, what can we do? I think we're all trapped in our house with the pandemic, and we feel like maybe if we're not suffering as much as another group is, we want to make a difference. We want to feel better about our situation. And so I was like, we can harness the awesome power of being trapped in our house and do some positive things. And so I felt one of the most positive things would be to get Katie's story out there, and the other stories of our peer buddies, and how they've really, really made a difference, so that others can learn how they can immediately start making a difference too. Because it's just been exciting. So out of this program that was Everybody Dance Now, spawned another program, which is called Come As You Are for Rockers of All Abilities, and that's at School of Rock Tustin. And again, that was born out of my
we're showing some pictures.
Oh
yeah.
Yes, that's Ian doing our Zoom class. and so yeah, the Come As You Are class, that was just born out of my youngest son, again, being at School of Rock Tustin, and my saying to the general manager, you know, I would love to have something for my oldest son. And so this program was born, and I needed peer buddies for this program too. And I didn't get a lot of interested kids. And so Katie and Ryan and Emma, you know, said, okay, we don't play music, we're dancers, but we'll give it a shot. And they have been instrumental in my rock and roll class as well, which has just been phenomenal, and for me has really meant a lot to me, because they've just been instrumental. And so for my 4 buddies that had just been with us 6 and 7 years, I created more of a title, more of a leadership role, because they were asking me, what else can I do? What else can we do? And so I created for them and started calling them my pals, but I spell it PAAALS, and it stands for, Fullerton Care's mission statement is the 3 A's. So awareness, acceptance, and action, right? Because, okay, you can accept, you can be aware, but what are we going to do to support? And so it's, you know, it's peer awareness, acceptance, action, leaders or liaisons. And so they have recruited other kids to volunteer and become peer buddies, and they train those kids. And so they just really, really go out of their way, again, moving out of dance and just supporting at our programs, not because they're an expert in the subject matter, but because now they're little experts in actually providing that support and friendship. And so when the pandemic hit, my pals reached out to me and said, you know, what are we going to do about dance or Come As You Are? And I said, I don't know, let me figure something out. And lo and behold, our Zoom class was born, and that's called Everybody Rock the House. Because I said, how are we going to mash up both classes? And, you know, and I didn't really know how I was going to go about this. I'm an expert in the music part, but not the dance part. I usually have support from dance instructors and from my buddies. And then that's, again, why I want to tell Katie's story. Katie ended up stepping up and becoming my junior community outreach director because she's been such an integral force in this Zoom program. And so I would just love to talk to, you know, have her talk about her experience in our programs, and then talk about what it's been like transferring what she's learned out in the community and doing it in a Zoom setting. That's my son, and there's Katie helping him play the drums.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, Katie, you've been so patient. We've said a lot of nice things about you, but we haven't really let you talk. Welcome to Autism Live. I guess I want to start with, why did you get started with doing Peer Buddies?
So I started like doing Peer Buddies because like I'm really invested in dance, and community like service is really important in my family. Like they teach us that from like when we were born. So like combining those two is like the best like combination that I could possibly like get, because it's doing two things that I love in one like place. And like I love seeing the kids and how they grow through like dancers and as children, and how the one-on-one connection between me and the students is like so special to them, and gaining their trust is also very special to me. And it's just amazing to see how far these kids can go with the help of a peer buddy.
Well, and you know, there's a lot of people who are watching who are like, well, this young lady is remarkable, and how amazing that she has gifted her time to these kiddos. But it's my understanding that you feel like you've gotten something out of this. Can you talk a little bit about what you've gotten out of it?
So what I've gotten out of it, the most important thing is the connection between a student and myself. So I have two buddies, Cynthia and Melody. And during these uncertain times, I've been checking up on them, like sending them a story, me reading them a story, or sending them little gifts so that they still have that little bit of connection with me and they don't like lose it during these times. And then the second reason is that like I've also, it's just really like coming from my heart. Like I love seeing like how like all these kids and all their connections with us, and it's just very like heartwarming to see like how much like the trust in them can go into like a teenager like me just trying to help them get out of their box and dance.
What a wonderful, wonderful thing. What a gift you are to us. But you're a very busy teenager. You do a lot of different things, right? Excuse me. And this is a time commitment. What are the challenges for you? Is this hard to commit to?
Yes, sometimes time management is a big problem because I'm on dance team at school, and for dance we have to do a certain amount of classes. So sometimes it's very like hard to make it to class, but we still make it work. I will like send in a friend to substitute for me, or I'll have my brother help me out and take my buddy so that they're not just like left out in the open.
It's just remarkable to think about this. And I know that a lot of us are trying to get our heads around this, because in life, I just was having a conversation with a parent yesterday who was saying that a relative, when they found out that her child was diagnosed with autism, uninvited them to a family gathering. And we were talking about the ignorance of that kind of a reaction. And here you are, you're a teenager, and you volunteered your time to be a friend to people that you're not even related to. We just need to clone you and fill the world
That's
with
what I
people
always
like you,
say.
right? And Robin, can I just pay homage to you that I know that that's part of what you've done through creating this program, is that, you know, you don't just leave it at one person, that you are making more peer buddies, so that in essence, you are cloning the Katies of the world and making
Well,
more of them. And they bring
I mean,
their own flavor, right?
yes,
They're not all the
definitely.
same.
There's definitely only one Katie though. But the nice thing about this having gone on so long, and what's just been remarkable is now, and why I had to promote her in leadership is because now I don't have to train everyone. I can say, you know, Katie, this is the new peer buddy, like stand by her, show her what to do, support her. She's with this dancer. And because, you know, if Katie hasn't worked with all of our kids, but like she's been in it for so long, she knows them, she knows what they're going to need. And I always tell her, like, just give her own classroom. Like, let's just skip to that. She's just really, really good. She's therapist quality. I mean, you heard her, she covers her shifts. Like, who does that? I have grown people that
Katie, I know who would hire you. I have a place that would hire you. You're just not quite old enough yet. But honestly, Robin, I would like to say to you, and you may already be thinking about this, that your peer buddies, once they graduate from high school, I would like to create a pipeline to them becoming therapists while they're at college. Can we please talk about that?
Yes. Well, you can ask Katie. I tell her all the time, like, the day you turn 18, this is happening. If you're going to work your way through college, if you have to have a job, then have this job because it's a good one and you're ready.
Over you. We will fight over you.
Yes.
But I also want to say that Robin, you've got to write a book about how you trained these peer buddies, because there are people who don't know how to do these things for their own child, and you're training a 10-year-old to do it to the point where at the age of 15, she's an elder statesman and can, you know, train others to do it. Stop! You got to write that book. Please.
No, I really want to. It is a passion of mine to get this out there. That's why I've always appreciated you having me on the show so that we can talk about it, because it's a doable thing. Like, I'm a busy mom. You know, my oldest son has a lot of concerns and needs. I work and stuff like that. And so if I was able to pull this off, I couldn't be the only one that could pull this off. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And there is only one Katie Wilson, and there's only one Ryan Wilson. There's only one Emily. There's only one Gabriella Top. Those are my four, like, core of my heart. But that being said, that's what I'm always saying too, is let's get these stories out there about our peer buddies and pals, because they couldn't be the only ones. We can do this. We can start a thing.
I'm challenging you. You write the book and let each one of them write a chapter in it about what it was like for them. And I will devote showtime to talking about the book as soon as you have it ready.
Thank you.
The book needs to happen. Okay. But I also promised our viewers, and by the way, I don't know which one or both of you, but they're calling you Earth Angels, our viewers. So I think it's a combo of both of you. But you had mentioned to me when we were talking about this, Robin, that because you're doing, is it one or both of the classes on Zoom, that there's an opportunity for people watching to participate. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, that's it's pretty cool. So I made up like a hybrid of both classes. So essentially it's a movement to music class that is rock and roll themed. So it's really, really fun. So it's rock the house, just like it sounds. It literally is tailored so that it covers all ages. And so I love it. Sometimes we're doing this, you know, the Zoom, and I'm looking at the participants, and parents come in and they start, you know, doing the dances and stuff like that. And we do some wellness, like yoga, you know, breathing, that kind of thing. Just something to give us like a brain break and a way to move. And then we speak to each other and that kind of thing. But again, I don't have a dance background. So I do okay, you know, if we're doing the cha-cha slide or something, I can pull off demonstrating that, but I didn't want our dancers to lose the ability to follow along with choreography. And so that's when Katie came in and really saved me. And our other pals as well are moving in as peer instructors. So I take a couple of segments, and Ryan, Katie's brother, he does a warm-up segment. Gabriella sends in videos so that we can have our wellness and yoga at the end. And Emma does this like awesome dance game that's Kiss, you know, my favorite band. It's Kiss themed. So you know, I love that. But Katie came in with these 2 segments that she's created, and it's allowing our kids to have a choreographed dance that they can all do. And so, and she has just really come in and done this awesome choreography. And so there's kind of like I would say like contemporary, or kind of like, I would say hip hop, but it's kind of all set to rock. But the kind of dances we were doing in Everybody Dance Now. And because ballet is Katie's passion, now we have a rock and roll ballet segment. And so that has been really, really cool. And our kids are learning. So I can see them on the Zoom. They're attending to her every week. They get a little better. They're memorizing their dances. So do you want to talk about that, Katie? Like what it's been like to move up into that dance teacher role?
Yeah. So going on like from in-person to Zoom, there was like it was very hard because the kids don't have like the in-person connection that we can give them in class. But as I was like teaching the dance, I could be able to see like the children like learning the dance and actually getting the steps, and like me attending to their needs and what they want. And so with this new ballet segment, I feel it's really good for them because ballet is really good like to have to earn flexibility and just like to have in general. So like teaching them the terminology and like the dance moves to help them to further improve their dancing has just like been so amazing to like just watch them be able to learn, and then to see like them be able to like memorize their dances and like express themselves through dance has been a very good class to see.
I love it. And I gotta say, for all of us who are panicking about the distance learning in the fall, anytime that we can get our kids onto a Zoom and having fun and get them moving their bodies, it's only going to help with whatever the boring, dull thing is the school is having them do. So, you know, because making it reinforcing sometimes will help for the times that it isn't reinforcing. So you guys, because we're running out of time here, how can somebody connect and do this with their kiddos? What time of the day is it? What days of the week? What's the key?
It is on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So 6 p.m. California time, but anyone can join. If you would like, it's free. If you would like to sign up for a link to register for the webinar, you can email Miss Robin Rocks at yahoo.com. So it's MSROBINROCKS at yahoo.com. And so if you just put Rock the House or Zoom in the title, I will send you a link to register for our webinar, and you can join us every week. It's a lot of fun, and I'm really excited about everyone participating. It's distance learning is a challenge, but we can take the positives from it. And I love what you said, Shannon. It is going to help out with distance learning, because if we can get our kids on there, we, you know, and having fun with Zoom, they will be less reluctant to get on when maybe the content isn't as fun. And it's a nice opportunity for them to really hone their skills, because I think what we're seeing is, while we're missing a bit of the social component, we are seeing much tighter progress with dance, because our kiddos, I think, are conducive to attending to a screen. So they're getting, you know, better at their dance moves and getting better and better at learning to interact over the screen.
And so go over the email again. Is it MS or MI?
MS, like Ms.
Ms. ROBIN. Yeah.
Rocks ms@yahoo.com.
At yahoo.com. So
Mhm.
MSROBINROCKS at yahoo.com. And so that would be tonight,
Mhm.
that in just a few hours. So for those of you on the East Coast, it's at 9 p.m. But for us on the West Coast, it's 6 p.m. on Thursday nights. And, you know, somebody wrote in and said, how do I get a peer buddy for my son? If they want an actual peer buddy in the sense that, you know, they're there and prompting them, that they've got to live in Fullerton. Is that correct? But
They
on
have
this,
to live in Fullerton, or if, if someone knows, for example, like, what started all of this was Leanna from CF Dance, was a business owner in Fullerton. She was a supporter of Fullerton Cares. She saw a need. I offered to jump in and help out too, and she helped out, and we did a thing. So sometimes it's just maybe about even knowing how to talk to people. And I think one way we can harness the pandemic is, Katie talked about how busy she is, and she is, and we all are. And being kind of stuck at home and utilizing Zoom is something that we can work into a really busy schedule. And so we can start small. If, for example, the person that wrote in that wanted a peer buddy, maybe you can talk to some folks at church or in your community that have a nice kid, and they're just a nice, sweet kid. And maybe you can start with some just really quick Zoom meetings, and they can talk to each other and then expand. Or if your child is nonverbal, someone can, talk to your child, like how Katie will read stories for her buddies and things like that. And starting out small and then building on it. And then one other thing I wanted to say is, a lot of times I'll get new participants in the Zoom and they'll just watch, and then I don't see them again. And so for parents, I want to encourage you, let your kids just, if they're not doing the dance moves or don't seem to be participating, but they will watch it, I would encourage you, let your kids watch it, because it's, they'll acclimate. It's just like real life. If we have to go somewhere and it has to be a successful outing, and my oldest son has never been, we try to go one time first, just to get him used to the surroundings. And this is kind of the same thing. So maybe they'll watch for a bit. Of participants that have been new to the Zoom that have hung in there, I've seen their kids just watching, or maybe watching for a little bit and then walking away, and now they're participating.
There we go. So keep on keeping on is the key here. Can I tell you, we're out of time, but how much, Robin, I think you know this, I think I've told you, I just adore you. I have so much respect and admiration for you. You are an amazing professional, an amazing expert, an amazing mom. I just always feel better when I get a chance to be around you. You are just light on this planet. And thank you, Katie, for being the person that you are. It gives me so much hope to know that you are someone who's going to inherit this earth and be in control in this earth. And oh my goodness, don't we need more people like you? Colleges are going to fight to have you. And businesses are going to fight to have you to be their employee. And let me tell you, if you ever need a recommendation, let me know, because I'll be happy to say what an amazing person you are. So gosh, thank you both for spending time with us and for loving our kids the way they need to be loved. I just appreciate you from my heart. Thank you so much for being here, you guys.
Thank you for having us. I hope you'll have us back soon.
Anytime. And seriously, I am challenged. I know you're busy, but that book, come on now. All right. And Katie, you get, tell her you want to write a chapter in it. So there we go. I am such a pushy broad today. But okay. Thank you guys for being here. I got to close out the show, so I'll let you guys go, but I'm going to keep talking. We got some questions we have to get to. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.
You're very welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye. Really quickly want to get to, because you guys have been having a conversation with yourselves online, and I love that, about what's routine and what's normal. And when we were talking before about what's ritualistic behavior, and somebody wrote in and said it's basically routine. I would argue, though, that we all have routines, right? Ritualistic is when you have to do the routine. Okay, so there's just a little bit of a difference there. Like you get upset if you can't do the routine in the way in which you do it. I have a routine every morning that's changed in the pandemic. And, you know, we have 2 dogs that are getting acclimatized to each other, and I need to do, you know, everything. It all has to get done. But some days I do it in one order, and some days I do it. Sometimes it messes me up when I change the routine, but I don't have a meltdown. And we all are like that, right? When it's a problem, when it's part of a disorder, is when you have to do it that way. Now, there are times when I go to drive out the driveway and I have to come back and I have to check the doorknob 3 times. That is a disorder. We can't leave until I do it. For me, that's OCD, not autism, but I'm just saying there is a difference there. So I do want to point that out. But when we talk about something being normal and being abnormal, I like the phrase that normal is a setting on the dryer. I don't know what normal is anymore. But I know when something is stopping me from doing something, and I know when something is stopping my son from doing something. And those are the things that I'm interested in working on. If I want to be able to leave without checking the doorknob 3 times, then I want to work on that. If I don't care, if it's not stopping me and it's just my routine and I do it every morning and I'm not holding myself up or anybody else, who cares, right? But when it's stopping me, like if it's an emergency and I need to leave, I want to be able to leave without touching the doorknob 3 times. How many different things on the DSM make a child autistic, and what are they? Is DSM-5 or DSM-6? Can I look it up online? Yes, you can look up the DSM-5. That is the current diagnosis for autism, and they have 3 different areas, and they list a bunch of different things in those 3 different areas. We could do a whole show on that. Unfortunately, I don't have time right now. But check it out. And if you are interested, you can go back and look at the DSM-4, was it R, to see what it changed from and to in 2013. It's old, so, but it is different than what it used to be before. Okay. Looking for young adult groups, independent living, and inclusive communities. Do you have any information on how to get my hands on information in a local area? I don't know where you live. And it really depends on where you live. I can tell you that during the pandemic, there's more and more places that are having things online. I would really encourage doing the peers program at UCLA online with your young adult to learn how to be social. There will be a cost associated with that. It might be covered by your insurance. I don't know. But that's peers, P-E-E-R-S at UCLA. I'd love to get somebody on from there to talk about that. I think I'm going to reach out and see if we can do that. Also, I really want to recommend, we had Chelsea Darnell on the show at the very beginning of the pandemic. She's an amazing young woman. She leads a group every Saturday night at the Ed Asner Family Center. They're doing it online right now. It's free. And it's called Movie Chat with Chelsea. On Monday, she tells her audience what movie their homework is to watch. They watch the movie. And on Saturday, a group of young adults on the spectrum get together and they start by talking about the movie. But from what I hear, it is the most amazing social group. It's free. Go to the Ed Asner Family Center, check out all the free classes that they have available, because there's a lot of stuff there, but definitely check out the Movie Chat with Chelsea. She's amazing and I adore her. Okay, what else we got here? So when talking about the routine, when a child persists in doing things a certain way, and they have to do it that way, that's what we want to address, because that's going to get in the way of going to school. That's going to get in the way of having friends, right? We want for them to be as flexible as possible. So we're going to work on that. Okay. Yeah, but normal is a setting on the dryer. Okay, what else have we got here? Okay, great. Somebody already registered for the Rock the House. And thank you so much for sharing the info for the dance class. I think my 12-year-old son on the spectrum might like this. Have a good day. You too, we're out of time. I want to let you know that tomorrow we're playing an oldie but a goodie. Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I don't even know which episode and who the guest is. I'm going to be back on Monday with Bonnie Yates. If you have questions because you're going through something about distance learning or the IEP, or your school has said something, we're looking for very specific questions. Write to me right now, because I got to send the questions to Bonnie today and tomorrow. s.penrod@autism-live.com. Give us your questions. Let us know, if it has something to do with school in this fall and IEP, want those questions for Bonnie. We're looking for specific, and be as specific as, tell us what they offered you, what you said, where you're at, what you want. Bonnie likes lots of information. All right. Email that to me. Do it now, and I'll see you on Monday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.